Hi everyone, this is Chris with Teeki Neelo. Today, I'm coloring Teeki Neelo's Peaceful Places. In this video, I'll be showing you how to color a tree, using this illustration of a quaint cabin near tranquil water. The first step is to pick our colors. Use a separate piece of paper to test out the colors you want to use and label them with the numbers on each pencil so you can easily find them while coloring. Since I'm coloring a tree, I want a variety of browns for the tree trunk and greens for the leaves. Alright, putting on my glove. This is so that the oils from my hand don't warp the paper as I'm drawing. And then I also like to use like a digital art glove, what I use when I'm using my iPad, because that also keeps my hand from messing up the paper. Alright, so let's start. Alright, so I'm starting with this guy. I'm going to use this kind of middle color to just do a base layer on the tree. I'm just doing it light, just to fill the tree. And I'm using the kind of the broad edge of it so that I'm not making any particularly dark lines or defined lines. If I do need to use the tip, I go very lightly. I'm gonna go with this kind of rich dark brown, which is 945. Okay, so that's that guy. Okay, and I'm gonna do the kind of the outside edges to start. I'm gonna use my the tip of the pencil a little more for the underside. This is where the sun is, so I'm gonna use this as shading on the opposite side. In addition to the left edges of the entire tree, I'm also shading the left side of the ridges of the bark along the tree trunk for added dimension. I'm gonna get some of this reddish 937. Now with this reddish hue, I'm filling in the areas next to the brown shaded lines I just did. This color adds a nice variation in the texture. Now back to my previous brown. I'm going in with a little bit harder pressure with the tip of the pencil to make a more defined shadow on the left edge of the tree, as well as the ridges in the bark throughout the tree trunk. Okay, so I'm going to create a highlight that's based on the sunshine hitting the right side of the tree. So I'm going to use this kind of, what is it, goldenrod, because it's kind of brownish. It's kind of orangish too. So let's try that. Any part that the sun could hit, like the edges of the bark, I'm gonna highlight. Okay, and there's something there. It's kind of dark. Dark. Sepia. Okay, that's pretty dark. And go super dark on the very back here. Create that contrast. Trying to create the contrast of the orange on this side. Now with a richer mid-tone brown, I'm filling in the transition area from the shadow to the light. Going back to sepia. Continue this shadow on the back side. It looks weird now, but once we do, the sun and everything's got that golden cast to it, it'll make more sense. So I'm applying a lot more pressure on the very, very right edge. To try to make it pop. And then also lines of the bark that would be getting some of that light. Now I'm gonna go in to some of these veins of bark, and I'm gonna give it some shadow on the veins. Or behind the veins, I should say. Quick, let's find a middle color. It's a middle color. It's a nice. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm trying to really get into these spots that are still white and fill it with this middle color. So it's almost like blending, but really it's trying to fill the gaps so it doesn't look like colored pencil on paper. I do consider this kind of like blending because you got the shadows, you've got the highlights, and when you go in with this kind of medium color and you're really going over all of it, you're just kind of unifying the blending of all the colors you've used. Don't forget to rotate your pencil. Rotate your pencil so that you're using the sharp edge. Oh, those little pockets are so pesky. They're like microscopic. That looks pretty good. Maybe I might go over the back with some black. Let's try that. So this is actual black. Just on the very back, maybe. Yeah. So this, I'm not doing this to you know, trace the lines. I'm doing this to shadow the lines. Give it some dimension. I think you can do more black up in the top of the tree since it's up by the leaves. More shade up there. So again, this is just to give depth and texture to the organic matter That is the bark. Okay. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. Okie dokie, Dr. Jones. Okay, so now we're going to focus on the leaves of the tree. So I already have these colors, but I think we need more. Kelp green, olive green, sure. Probably looks a little too bright. True green, well, let's see what it looks like. Just get all of the greens. Sandbar brown, Kelly green, sap green light. All right, we're gonna try all these. Brown, that's a nice brown for the tree. For next time, 1094. True green, I don't know, bro. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, I want you to see what I'm doing there. I'm putting the pencils in the order that I have them right here, so I can find them more easily. And I'm also trying to do it in like order, descending from light to dark. Trying to. I would like someone who may work in the color naming industry to explain how they come up with these numbers. They're obviously not sequentially ordered. All right, so that's a pretty good mix. Cool. Cool. Time to put the gloves on. All right, guys, let's do this. All right, so I want to look at these greens and figure out what my middle color is gonna be. I'm gonna go with this one, 120. So I had to pause here because I had to think about whether these spaces here are gonna be sky or if it's the inside of the tree, you know, the underneath the canopy type thing. And I think I'm gonna go with inside of the tree instead of the sky, so it looks more full, because I don't think that this big ass tree would be just, you know, having leaves just on the top. I think it would be very full, so I'm gonna do the whole thing as a tree, the leaves. Okay, so I have my base layer of the medium color, and now let's do a darker shade, especially for the inside areas that are kind of underneath the canopy. We're gonna do a darker shade, so let's go with this one. Maybe this one. I don't know. They're pretty close, but I think we'll go with the darker one. So now we're gonna go a little bit deeper in darkness and depth. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with this guy. As you can see here, I made this line the edge of this tree because there's trees in the background that can be a different color. So what I'm gonna do is use just a pen. Probably can use something better than this, but this is what I got. Use this pen to create a more significant boundary. So, okay, so now we have to decide what colors we're gonna use next. So let's look at maybe filling in the volume and the texture of the outside lighter ones. I do have to keep in mind that there's gonna be some influence from the sun on these leaves and maybe somewhere inside here. So we'll have to keep that in mind, but for right now, I want to pick a lighter, brighter green that is appropriate for the outside. All right, so I'm going to use 909. 909. So, as soon as I started coloring this in, I was like, that's too bright. But I think it's fine, because we're gonna use lots of more colors, We're gonna use lots of other colors on top of this. Right now, to me, it looks like this green doesn't go with these greens, but remember, it's just one layer. We're gonna add lots more layers. So it will all turn out okay. Don't panic. Be calm and color on. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned, but I left the edges of this side. I didn't color those in directly because I'm gonna put a highlight color from the sun later. All right, so we have to figure out what we're gonna put into these areas. So we just used 909, that color. Let's see what this looks like. 1096. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit with 1096, and then I think I'm gonna go with 109. 1096, doop. 109, doop. PC 109. Okay, I started doing the darker green in here, but I think I want to first add highlights from the sun. Figure that out first. I think this would be too yellow. This is what we use for the wood, so I might use that. But there's also more options, so I'm gonna take a look at those and see what I can come up with. Okay, so I've got this really bright, almost lime-colored, yellowish greenish, and then I've got this kind of golden one, and then I've got the good old bark orange one. So I'm gonna try to use these three to create the highlights in the leaves, along with maybe one of these brighter greens. So let's see what we can do. So I've added these three yellows and golds to the outside to give it some highlight from the sun and also some kind of changing leaf vibes going on right there. But now it's time to go dark, like with the shadow that we did for the tree. We're gonna do those same types of shadows with the leaves. Okay, so I've got that original sepia, that was what we used for the tree. And then we got this one, which is one number above it, or below it, called dark umber. And then of course this is black. I think I'm gonna go with these three. Let's do it. Okay, so we've got the depth under the canopy, we've got depth in the leaves, we've got the kind of golden kissed, sun kissed leaves on the edge, and then I went through with that golden color and shaded any part that was light. Where's that? Shaded any part that was light that would show the gold, just to give it some nice texture. So our tree is done. I think it looks pretty good.